Okay, amazing. We'll get started on our presentation, and thank you again, Michael, for joining us.
It's okay, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen with my PowerPoint. Make sure I'm sharing the sound. So this evening I'm currently away with work. Would you believe I'm actually on the west coast of Scotland doing some planned maintenance. So part of my job is obviously being away, which is not too bad sometimes, I promise. There we go. I will get there, I promise. There we go. So tonight, Careers Awareness webinar for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, which is what the RNLI stands for. I've been doing this, so my name is Michael Wilkinson. Daytime, I'm a full-time RNLI systems technician for the lifeboats, which we'll learn more about in a wee while, but that's what I do full-time. But actually in the evenings and weekends, I volunteer as an I.O.W crew member and an A.O.W mechanic. But I also volunteer in the Sea Cadets as a sub-lieutenant down, up in Dundee unit in Northern Area. So lifeboats, let me just move you, are the largest charity that saves lives at sea and have been doing for almost 200 years. In this time, the vessels we've been going from rowing boats to state-of-the-art powered vessels like our Shannon class lifeboats, which are now the most modern lifeboats in the world. But what makes our kit so good is all the kit that's on it. That makes it a whole boat of safety. On our boats, we have things like our marine radars, our chart plotters, digital compasses, VHF direction finders, which are fantastic. If you ever go to sea and get in trouble, make sure you have a VHF. And if a lifeboat's coming to you and you're talking to them through the radio, we'll know exactly what direction you are with that piece of kit. On our boats, they're there for the safety of you, but they also save each other and people on board. We have things like our video cameras, which means we can look around our boat without actually having to get out of seats, which is great at sea, because sometimes we go out in not so pleasant weather. We also have things like autopilot and our VHF radios. Autopilot is designed so that you can set a course and it will go that way, and then you can concentrate on things like getting first aid kits and safety equipment ready. And our VHF radio means we can talk to you clearly, precisely, and to the Coast Guard, who will tell us what to do and where to go. Biggest thing in the lifeboats is our people. Would you believe the lifeboat organisation is 95% volunteer, which may seem silly if you're here for a career. Why are you wanting to know about the 5%? But there is a lot of people in the organisation, and 5% makes up a lot of people. Since 1824, these people have been out there saving lives at sea, and the equipment and everything that's been provided to them has just got better and better. And this is all done through generous donations, and it's all done as a charity. The 95% of these people are volunteers. The other 5% are our regional coastal staff like myself, who's luckily paid to play with boats all day. But actually, I have to do a lot of support to make sure these people are assisted, assured, and to give them, the volunteer, the best to do the amazing work that they do. Before, they used to have kit like this. The buoyancy aids or life jackets you would see there, they're called life jackets, but compared to modern day life jackets, they're not so modern. They're made out of cork, would you believe, and the oil skins are made out of leather, which isn't too great. And obviously the spotting hats and beards are always a want. Nowadays we have sort of state-of-the-art kit, life jackets, buoyancy aids. They're I.O.W crew because they're wearing our head-to-toe dry suits, and they've got the gecko helmets, which are built in visors and everything like that, which is a great piece of kit to wear. Our I.O.W crew wear full waterproofs, which is shown here. This is known as our next generation. Our kit had a great overhaul recently, working with major water sports clothing manufacturers who were designing and sort of putting an idea together for the lifeboats. And it gave us the best kit available out there. The partnership that we now run by is Helly Hansen. And Helly Hansen allows our kit to be readily available and designed with what we wanted in mind. So what we wanted ran around like technical layering, which means you could wear as much or as little as you want, but still stay warm and dry depending on the conditions. A tailored fit for both male and female crew. Waterproof, breathable clothing using the special fabric that the companies had. Had to be comfortable with great freedom of movement, especially when you're like handling lines and making sure like fenders are out and things like that. You need to make sure you have the movement, and it had to be light because running about and trying to get to places quickly, your kit's not light enough. You wouldn't be able to do it. But our kit is 100% the best we could possibly get, and it's constantly redesigned. We'll move on to what's in the lifeboats. So the big thing about lifeboats is volunteering, and volunteering runs down a few sort of factors. So obviously everyone knows about the I.O.W and the I.O.W crews, but also we have to have fundraisers. The fundraisers are the key to the whole organisation. You can do more than one role, but fundraising is one that everyone should take part in. Crew, the ones that actually put themselves out there to go out and get on the boats and go to sea. And then our shore crew, who are the vital people that are there to help the boats go to the sea. Volunteer roles. So obviously we're speaking about fundraisers. These are two lovely ladies at my station. They do a fantastic job. Every weekend they go out and do something. Even if it's 20 minutes or 2 or 3 hours, if they come back with 20 quid or £200, they're over the moon. And that's the sort of people you'll see out in the streets all the time. Sea Cadets, you've probably done sort of some fundraising for the organisation at some point. Lifeboat stations and Sea Cadets have good links, but the fundraisers in the stations are the key that make everything happen, from coffee mornings to, well, unfortunately I've had to walk up and down a slipway. We called it a slipway, but it was actually a catwalk wearing yellow wellies as a model for clothing. But it worked. We made some money. Now to the boat roles, so volunteer roles of the I.O.W. So I.O.W stands for All Weather Lifeboat. So in all weathers, this boat can go to sea safely. There's me with my lifeboats. That's my lifeboat at Broughty Ferry Station up in Scotland. And that's me wearing all my gear there, ready to go, nice and cozy. Believe me, it was that day. I.O.W. So I.O.W.s are the smaller inshore lifeboats. That's what I.O.W. stands for. And they're sort of a bit more rugged, outdoorsy, nowhere to hide from the weather, unfortunately. Hence the head-to-toe dry suit. Now, this is our shore crew here. They walk up and down the beach. They get the boat to shore or to sea. It's a vital link of getting the boat from station to sea. They prep, they get the boat ready, they move and launch the lifeboats, but they also recover, clean, refuel, and ready lifeboat for service. So what's important about that is that when we get a shout, it's called when you have to go on service, we know the boat's ready to go because these guys have done the job. If you join a lifeboat crew as a volunteer, you'll probably get put in shore crew first. It's not to make you feel bad, it's just to make you understand that the crew, the shore crew, are the most key people in the station. They're the ones that are purely there to get the boat to sea. So yeah, 2 seconds, I just need to turn my laptop down because this next bit makes me freak out. You'll see why in a second. So that there was just a quick video of our launch and recovery equipment that our show crew would be using. That was called our SLARS rig. So that's SLARS stands for Shannon Launch and Recovery System, designed specifically for the lifeboats because it's easy to use, has more safety factors in it than you could ever believe, and it is so well built that it can put up to the sort of strains and pushes that it's put to. Some other sort of launch types we have our davit type launch. That's an Atlantic 85 lifeboat being lifted up and launched to sea. We use that quite often because you can launch straight into a harbour without having to have a lot of equipment, and it reduces the amount of people needed to launch the boat, which is quite good. Here's a little video about our Slipway Launch boats. This doesn't have any sound. A fantastic launch system because it's nice, quick, easy, and it looks spectacular. This is a Tamar class lifeboat, which is our second most recent type of lifeboat, and it's designed to be launched from the slipway or stay afloat the whole time, ready to go. So we spoke about volunteers, but our staff are in the background. So staff is sort of a term we use for paid staff. They build, support, and assure our crew to do what they do. Really key people in the RNLI. They are mostly at our main support centre in Poole, but they're also in individual regions around the coast, and they help run our life-saving service. We also have staff that sit inside our ALC and IOC, which is our all-weather lifeboat centre, which build our lifeboats, and our IOC in Cowes, Isle of Wight, which then build our Inshore lifeboats. Here's a quick video of our ALC in Poole.
In 2015, all-weather lifeboat building came home. A giant stride in a long journey of engineering excellence, the All-Weather Lifeboat Centre brings every life stage in-house. From lifeboat design, build and maintenance to disposal, equipping our engineers for the next generation of saving lives at sea. There are several stages in the manufacture and commissioning of a Shannon-class all-weather lifeboat, including composite moulding, painting, fit-out, and commissioning and acceptance. And the entire process takes around 14 months. She comes to life during the painting process as a muted green composite is replaced with the unmistakable blue and orange of an RNLI lifeboat. Before being put on service, all lifeboats undergo 2 months of rigorous testing and sea trials to make sure that they're ready to take on even the wildest conditions. Finally, they can be presented for acceptance into the fleet.
So just a quick insight into our ALC. Within the ALC, there's hundreds of people working, and they do a fantastic job of building, maintaining, and then refitting our lifeboats when currently on service. If you can still see the last bit of the video, there's 4 lifeboats in a row. They're actually all Scottish lifeboats. This is at Girvan's pass out of the new Shannon class lifeboat 1323, with a Severn, a Tamar, and a Trent type lifeboats. If you look at the numbers on the front of the boat, a wee fact for you guys. The first number tells you the meterage of the boat. So, for instance, RNLI 1323 is a 13-metre Shannon lifeboat, and it's the 23rd boat in the class. 17 metres, 16 metres, and 14 metres. Just a wee fact for you guys. So, in the ALC, so obviously you've seen a lot of the processes we do, but the jobs there are quite a lot. You can get an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships are fantastic in the lifeboats. It's not just a lifeboat apprenticeship, it's also an apprenticeship for boat building. If you're on the south coast of England or you want to do boat building, there's plenty of it around that area. For instance, the ALC sits right next door to the Sunseeker factory, and it's a fantastic smelling place because of all the fiberglass smells, but it is a fantastic place to be. And the apprenticeship will cover most things on the boat. For instance, the building, the composite, which means plastics and sort of layering systems we use, but also it'll do electronics and mechanics as well, which is a good all-round apprenticeship. Boat technician, so the word technician, it means you know a lot, but you're a master of none, unfortunately. It means that you're expected to be able to do quite a few little jobs, but with a set of instructions, you can put one and one together and build and complete the jobs. Supervisors, so people that are in charge of looking at the boats and making sure that they're being built to the correct standards. We don't want a subpar boat going to sea and falling apart. Electrical engineers and composites engineers. The lifeboats have harnessed a lot of information and technology in the building of the new factory. ALC don't just build the boats, they make new ones, they keep the ones on the water going. But a big thing that they do is make sure every boat's exactly the same. So that if one boat comes in with a fault and the next boat comes with a fault, they'll be able to notice that there's going to be a continual fault in these boats and they can fix them before they become a problem. In the video, you would have seen how they build the Shannons. The Shannons are built in a way that then you can lift the top off and put it back on, which is fantastic for being a mechanic, because you can get engines out easy, you can put in jet parts easier, and it's all part of the design process to make the boats easy to build. Our ILC, so ILC is our Inshore Lifeboat Centre, and here's just a quick insight of what happens within those within that factory for our Inshore lifeboats. So the ILC was one of the first ever parts of the lifeboats where they decided to build things in-house. A lot of the lifeboats were designed by the lifeboats, but then sent out to boat yards to build. But they started to notice a lot of differences, hence why between one boat yard and another boat yard would have a foot difference inside the engine room, which obviously for crew that move from one boat to another would find that a bit difficult to get used to. There's one good example is when I'm on the Shetland Islands. That's the island that's really far north of Scotland. It's normally in a box on the map. We have two different lifeboats up there, both 7 classes, but actually one's a bit shorter than the other. So I bang my head on one boat and not the other boat. It's quite an interesting day. But no, we then bring it all in-house and every lifeboat's exactly the same. And the ILC is fantastic. If I have an issue on the coast about a lifeboat that I don't know about, I go to the ILC and they tell me the answer. It's fantastic. So background rules. We've spoken about the ILC and the ALC, the Inshore Lifeboats and the all-weather lifeboat centres, but where do they get their information from and where do they get their support from? So a lot of our support comes from Poole in Dorset. and this sort of comes into some sort of certain areas. So engineering support, which is about the kit, sort of all the technical information that you need to know about the boats. Life-saving delivery. So this can be looking at areas, seeing what's happened in those areas, how they can educate people and how they can sort of work with what's there already to make life-saving in that area more beneficial. People that do roles in that life-saving delivery are fantastic to speak to because you hear a lot of stories and a lot of really good outcomes. But when it comes to our crew, we have to do a lot of training, and training happens in Poole. They designed the college to give our crew the opportunity to get the most, what's the way of saying it, the best training possible out there for our crew on the kit that they'll be using back at their own stations. Asset management, so making sure that all our kit is readily available, making sure all the kit, if it was to break down, they could get another bit of asset in place. The biggest part of this is have relief boats. Would you believe that the lifeboats you see at your stations, if you've ever been around having a look at lifeboats, there's actually a spare boat normally nearby ready to go. And that spare boat will be designated for that area or region, as you'll hear in a minute. And that region will look after those boats. And that comes down to asset management and making sure that everything's readily available for them. And stores. So lifeboats have a great store system. And this store system will mean that if we have an issue, we can request parts, and parts will turn up as quick as it can possibly get there using any means that we have known and tried and tested. Regular stores, or routine stores as it's called, automatically all work through an online system that lifeboats use. And this routine stores will make sure that parts are arrived in time, on time, and readily for when we need them, which is fantastic for me because I turn up and the bits are already there for me with my job. Now, this is more where I work. I'm regional coast staff, and part of my region is Scotland. If you look on the map on the left at the moment, you'll see where you are, and hopefully you can see what RNLI region you're part of. So each region has its set staff in that area, and now set staff sort of break down into sort of coastal maintenance. So coastal maintenance have a manager, and that manager has a team of people underneath them, like myself as a systems technician. We have system engineers, and we have a regional engineer as well who work with coastal maintenance to get the boats always on the go, ready to go, and safe for people to use. A big part of the coastal maintenance is making sure the planned maintenance jobs have been done. Planned maintenance will include things like checking engines, checking lots of things, doing oil samples. And it is a fantastic engineering way of seeing how a piece of kit is kept ready, available, and set to go. But coastal maintenance also works on the knee-jerk reactions to when things have broken down. Lifeboats and sort of boats in general are used in a strange way, whereas a car, you would start it up and let it warm up slightly before you move off. Lifeboats don't get the chance. They have to be turned on and going before they've even thought about what they're having or what they're going to. So there's sometimes quite a few failures, but nothing that stops us getting to casualties when we need to. Each region is broken down into areas, and within certain areas, we have area life-saving managers, and they're set to look after stations and make sure stations are working correctly with the right staff and giving them the support to do what they do, and making sure volunteers have someone to speak to if they need to. Regional engineers, now they're there to be our sort of triage, as we call it, RTC, so Regional Technical Cell. They also host, because if there's an issue on the coast, it goes to them to then either try and rectify it as a regional engineer, or to make sure one of us know what we're going to with the right parts ordered and there. The regional engineer's got a really large job to do. Estates manager, so everything you see for the lifeboats that isn't floating or pushing or driving, for instance, the tractors and things like that, any piece of estate, so buildings, it has to be looked after, and that's a big job in the RNLI. Slipways and pontoon systems are all planned and built and put in place by these estate managers as well. And these managers are really important to make sure that the contractors are doing what we want and what we ask for. So it's a big job in the RNLI, which it might not be the boats themselves, but it's a really important background role. Talking about background roles, our station mechanics and our station roles. In an I.O.W station, there's only 2 people actually paid there to be there. It's up to 2 people. Some stations only have 1. Our coxswain or mechanic. These 2 people or 1 person in most stations are there to make sure that that boat can go to sea with the right crew and is safe to continue. The coxswain works with the crew and making sure all navigation and things are up to date, and working on the weather decks side of things, so things that are outside. The mechanic is a key guy or woman in the stations who look after the boats and make sure that the equipment is up to date and all station planned maintenance is completed. Oil's changed, water's topped up for the kettle on board. Yes, lifeboats have kettles. I think it's fantastic. And making sure that the station is ready for the boat to go to sea. In an I.O.W station, there is no full-time employees. I.O.W stations have a couple of people who are given a retainer, a little bit of money each month to do their key roles. And this can be someone who's the I.O.W mechanic, making sure the boat's ready to go, or doing small repairs on the boat, and the launch and recovery equipment maintainers as well. But that's in a station. But together, everyone in the lifeboat are 1 crew, and the 1 crew message is a key one to make sure that everyone knows exactly what they're doing and when they're doing it. Because without relying on 1 person, the whole crew would break down. It's just like at the Sea Cadet units. You don't just have 1 member of staff, you have a team of members of staff that keep your units going. It's the same in the lifeboats. So my story, so where I've got to now where I am today, I went to school. I wasn't the best at school. People, if you've ever met me, know I'm not exactly the smartest of people, but however, I stuck at it, I kept at school. But while I was at school, I did things like the Sea Cadets. I was in the Sea Cadets since I was 10 years old. And I enjoyed doing mechanics. I completed the marine engineering program. And it was definitely one that's definitely helped me get to where I am today. And the Sea Cadets still now help me every single day I need to go. While in the cadets and doing the marine engineering, I started an apprenticeship. I'll always remember the interview for the apprenticeship for the National Express bus company job, would you believe? We spoke about boats and the Sea Cadets and what it's done for me for the whole hour that the interview was, and that just helped me show confidence and push what the Sea Cadets engineering had taught me, and it sort of made school irrelevant, but the base sort of lessons at school, maths, English and technology, sort of helped me go for the engineering side of things, and helped me a lot once I started my apprenticeship, which was it's a 4 years apprenticeship. I did 2 years after my apprenticeship at National Express, working on the buses and coaches, and a fantastic opportunity if you get an apprenticeship. After that, joined the RNLI, and now I'm here. I mean, that's 5 years almost, and it's been fantastic. You get loads of training, loads of help, and it's a fantastic work-life balance. I still volunteer with the Sea Cadets at the weekends. I still get plenty of time, probably more time than I should, doing cadet weekends. But work is just fantastic. I'm currently away, as I said, but it's one of those things. I'm now away, but I will get to go to work really quickly in the morning and see some fantastic sights and play with some fantastic kit. So where do you look for jobs for the lifeboats? So lifeboat jobs are purely done through our own website. it's jobs.rnli.org, and that website there will then show you where to go and sort of what's on offer at the time. Because of COVID, a lot of our jobs have gone home working or mobile working, so you can work from home and then move away from home, but be home at weekends and things like that. It's not based around centre locations anymore because it doesn't work for everyone. They realise a lot of good people aren't on the coast, and we can use people from all over the place to help our life-saving messages, especially with things like estates and coastal infrastructure and things like that. We have a lot of stuff out there. Things on there like data analysts and things like that, who take the information about what's happened and put it onto paper to make an informative decision on our life-saving messages and managers' decisions as well. But have a look at the website and make sure if you see anything you like, pursue it. Definitely pursue it. It's fantastic. That's the end of my speech. It was meant to be 40 minutes, but 30 minutes is quite enough. I'm just going to have a quick thank you because I bet some of you have all done something for the Lifeboat so far. And I would like to say thank you. And this is sort of a video I've been given to show you this evening.
I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that people give of their spare money to put us out there in the best kit we can possibly be in. Yeah, it beggars belief.
It's quite reassuring to think that there are still a lot of good people out there willing to donate money and fundraise for the RNLI to help us do what we do.
See, it is really nice when people do help us, help other people. Like at the end of the day, that's what they're doing. Everyone that donates is helping us help someone else.
I mean, the help we get from the public is amazing. A lot of people say to me, I can't believe it's all on charitable donations. And I sometimes feel bad because there's, Facebook posts of the fact that we've gone out and saved this person. And I have to remind people and remind myself that actually I'm out there in good kit because of the fundraisers.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's just a quick thank you from myself as well as many of the crew. With the lifeboats, we have a safety message. Everything we do and every sort of public engagement we do, we need to pass a safety message. But it's respect the water. It's something that if you were to become an employee or to be a volunteer in the lifeboats, we need to pass a message. Just a quick insight message. That's the shortest one I could find, so it's fantastic. Really important, guys, with the respect the water and fight your urge to swim if you fall in cold water. If you're a sea cadet yourself, you probably know if you jump in the water, it's cold. But we wear a nice safety kit to keep ourselves safe if you accidentally fall in the water. Relax, breathe, act like a starfish, and float to live, pretty much. Okay. Just a couple images, guys, for you. My favourite images from being in the lifeboat so far. This is Chroma Lifeboat launching off the Slipway. I just think it looks great. It's fantastic. I've been both in the boat and watching the boat go in the water. What's good about this lifeboat, this is a Tamar lifeboat, is that if you look at the number 16 in the middle of the hull at the back, there's like a wee door above it, and inside there's a little daughter boat, which is designed to go towards the shore if they need to go. And it's a really good bit of kit, it's fantastic. But if you ever get to see a lifeboat be launched from a slipway, please do, because it is a fantastic thing to see. Unless it's getting launched for you, then you don't want to see it because it's a bit embarrassing, but lifeboats are there to save lives, so if you ever need it, use it. A couple images here. So the launching of our lifeboats. we have a launch for every single lifeboat we build, and the funders who get their names on the side of the lifeboats get to put their names on the side in the white sort of circly section, and it's fantastic to see if they get to see their boat launched. Casualty care on the bottom left picture there with our lifeguard system. Our lifeguards, would you believe, are sessional only. So if they do a session of life-saving, so being a lifeguard on the beach, they get paid for that session. So if you're ever needing something to do during the summer when you're not at school and you're old enough to do it, look for these sessional jobs on the website, because this could be an insight to what lifeguarding actually does and what the lifeboats as an organisation has to offer. One thing they do offer, which is fantastic, and I've used myself lots, is casualty care. Effectively, it's a lifeboat first aid. This first aid is so good. It's sort of a regime that we're taught to get the best help quickly to every casualty we deal with, which is great. And our bottom right photo there is actually one of my friends doing a tour of a station. But you can see the Inshore lifeboat there with lots of people around getting shown around. There you go. So we have here everyone that you need in a station to work. So we have our older sort of section there, who will be the ones full of knowledge. Our younger crew behind them, left and right, who have been there less time, but are the youth of the crew who just get told what to do. But it's vital. Our lifeguard on the right there in the red, who's on the beach patrolling, making sure people don't get into danger. And then on the outsides, we have our I.O.W crew, who are the splash and dash, get through the weather and get to the people that need help quickly, which is fantastic. You can tell who's been, also good one for you, you can tell who's been in the crew longer with how dirty their yellows are. Now, with the boats that go to the boats that go to sea, yeah, you would think they would pick a colour that wouldn't get dirty. But as you can tell when you look at them, it's just a fantastic colour. It looks great. And if you see yellow coming to you at night time, it is fantastic. Oh, yeah, we've got jet skis too. They're for the beach safety. So our jet skis are there to as a rescue watercraft. They're RWCs. And they are really, really good fun to play with, but also vital within the surf to get someone getting pulled out to sea if they've ever had swimming. And my personal favourite boat, the Atlantic 85 lifeboat, very much like a rib that you would drive day in, day out, but it goes 45 knots, which is an epic speed. And you're outside facing into that. It is a brilliant piece of kit. But behind that bit of kit, you've got the people who maintain it, the people who look after it, and the people who launch it. And all these people are vital. And as a career, the lifeboats is a fantastic place to go, because as a career in the lifeboats, you're stuck for life, because every day you learn something new, and that thing you learn can be the next thing to keep a boat on service, to go to sea, to save a life. So on that, finally, any questions?
So we do have two questions. One from Thomas. Do you have self-righting boats?
So Thomas, would you believe that every lifeboat in the RNLI is designed to self-right? So everything from our ALBs have big air pockets and are designed that if they were to go upside down, the engines would slow down and stop going forward. And as the boat was to turn around and come back upright, it would then be absolutely fine, ready to go. The I.O.Ws, the Inshore lifeboats, our little D class is designed that if it was to go upside down, our crew's able to right it, fix the engine and get the engine running again. And our larger 85 boat, the one I just showed you a picture of, if I can go back, the orange section behind the fourth crew at the back, it looks like an orange pillow, is actually a big airbag designed that when it's blown up, it'll turn the boat back upright, and the engines automatically turn off to stop any damage due to water. So Our boats aren't only just self-righting, but they look after themselves, just make them still be able to go. Hopefully that answers your question. Any others?
Thank you. Does the RNLI do work experience?
So unfortunately,
for teenagers.
For teenagers, unfortunately, we don't really do work experience. However, if you were to go to your local station and ask questions and sort of seem interested with it, you might be able to get down and see some exercises and possibly help out every now and then. For older teenagers, so for 16 years plus, you can join the crew. And obviously that'll be more of a show crew section. Sorry?
Yes, thank you. So Sean has asked, what happens if the boat runs out of fuel?
Well, we can only work to our sort of capabilities, and our capability is put down to a number. So our larger I.O.W boats, all-weather lifeboats, can go for over 100 nautical miles out and 100 nautical miles back, and that includes a 50 nautical miles search radius. So if you're not within 100 nautical miles of our lifeboat station at time, you might run out of fuel. However, our crew look after themselves as well as looking after you. So we would never, ever run out of fuel on the way to a rescue. If we couldn't think the rescue was capable by us, we would send another asset, be it a helicopter who can travel further faster, or a larger lifeboat if we're only an inshore lifeboat, because inshore we can't go that far really. On the map I showed you earlier on, there's stations all over the UK. We can probably go to not our neighbouring station, but our neighbouring station before we need to think about refueling and turning home. So we have plenty of fuel on board not to run out, hopefully.
Fantastic, thank you. At what age can a seabed actively get involved with the RNLI?
So for fundraising, you can start whenever you want. You can decide to do a sort of sponsorship sort of styles fundraising, but however, 16-year-old is the age to join a lifeboat crew. Lifeboat crew are invited on board as a when need sort of situation. If the crew's full, because of the cost of training and things like that, they won't have extra people on board. But in terms of a career, look online, look for an apprenticeship. 16-year-olds, you can get into an apprenticeship and get a career out of it. Apprenticeships normally go up about middle of summer, sort of start of summer, middle of summer. But look online, follow the RNLI on Facebook and Instagram. We often put stuff on there about careers and our apprenticeship program, if that's what you're thinking. But in the stations, 16-year-old plus, if the requirement's there.
Fantastic, thank you. John has asked, how many years does a lifeboat last for?
So, good question, I like that one. So our 7 lifeboat, the ones that start with 17, our largest lifeboat we have on the coast, they were designed to last 25 years. So 25 years is a long time, but they're so good and designed so well. In technology 25 years ago, we're now extending them to 50 years by taking them into our ALC, stripping them right back to bare and building them back up again with brand new kit, new technology to make them last another 10, 15 years, we reckon. So we aim 25 years. However, we're now extending boats with 25-year-old technology on board. So we should get about 30, 40 years out of a lifeboat. Inshore lifeboats, not so much, but we take them back every 4 years now for inshore lifeboats. And we do exactly the same thing. We strip them back and rebuild them with new so that they're ready and raring to go for a lot more. So they last a lot longer than a normal boat.
Fantastic, thank you so much for that. Do we have any other questions? Well, now's the chance. If you can't think right now, don't worry. This session, I'll pop our email address in the chat and you can email us if you have any more and we can ask the question for you and get back to you. But if you think of any just now, we'll give it another couple of minutes just to give you a chance to type your questions in. So that's our email address, webinars@ms-sc.org. So if you think of anything that you suddenly after the call think, oh man, I should have asked that, please do let us know and we will do our best to get an answer for you. If you have any other questions just now, then please pop them in the Q&A function or the chat, which now works, and we can we'll do our best to answer. Another minute or so. If there are no more questions. Oh. How old do you have to be to work on the vessels? I think, does that mean like employment, perhaps?
So to be employed, it's not really what age, it's what qualifications you have. So if you do an apprenticeship, you can do it from day dawn, easy peasy. You just get an apprenticeship and start working in the ALC or on the coast in sort of some management roles as well. To work on the vessels as a crewman, you can start that at 16, but it takes about a year to train up to be a crewman. So 16, 17 to be volunteer or to work on them. If you're qualified already, you can get a job as a systems technician or get an apprenticeship at 16 and you'll be on board. It'll be fantastic. So I hope that answers your question.
That's a good one. How close do you have to live to be a volunteer at Lifeboat Coxswain?
So to be a volunteer or Lifeboat Coxswain, so to be a volunteer, you need to live within the sort of 15-minute mark is what my stations say. Some stations are a lot shorter because like they've got more people closer, if that makes sense. But it's only a conversation question to ask the crew or the station themselves. I mean, I live quite far away from my station, but because I've got the skills and ability to take the boat to sea as a mechanic, they've sort of allowed that and allowed me to still be part of the crew. Just means I need to get there a little bit faster when the pager does go.
You have to run. Yeah,
I don't run.
It's that distinct sound, isn't it? It's quite loud and
the big difference with my role is that when the pager does go, if I'm on call as the mechanic, my kit's already on the boat, so I walk briskly. We're not allowed to run. We walk briskly to the boat, and my kit's already on board, ready for me to just jump into and go. Whereas everyone else gets changed and goes out. But it's a conversation to have with the station, pretty much.
Fantastic. What happens if any animals are stuck at sea?
Good question. I like that one. So animals, would you believe we launched animals as well? Because if, say, you've got a pet or a dog or whatever, if they were to jump in the water, we believe as an organisation that right behind them will the owner jump in. So if the owners are to phone the lifeboats, we would say we are launching because we want to save your dog so you don't have to. A lot of times, I've had it before, I've experienced it myself. We've launched to a dog in the water. When we get there, the dog's out the water, woohoo, but the owner isn't. Unfortunately, the owner's gone in after it and we've had to then find them and give them sort of some care, normally warm blankets and a telling off for jumping in after their pet. Because dogs seem to be able to swim better than humans. We've also launched to a sheep before, would you believe? Now, sheep look very small in fields. They're quite big and they're very heavy. So we do launch to animals.
Must have been a story, like a sheep. It's so interesting.
It's trying to stop it from running around the boat. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they're not quite as trained as a dog, are they? No. Fantastic, thank you. I actually did have a question. You mentioned qualifications about when they asked how old you have to be. You mentioned that it's more based on qualifications.
Yeah.
Is there any qualifications what kind of engineering qualification would you need if you were choosing to be an engineer, for example?
So I can only speak on myself, but I did a level 2 qualification in engineering on PSVs, so public service vehicles with the National Express. That allowed me to go to where I am now. So you've got a lifeboat person who's trained on buses, fixing boats, but all skills are transferable. We've got people in my office who are trained as administration, and they've done an administration degree, and they now are our coastal maintenance planners, and they're just really good with spreadsheets and things. That makes my life a lot easier. We've got people who are trained in planning, and people who are trained with estates and sort of civil engineering qualifications, but only been to college. A lot of them haven't gone to university because the lifeboats notice the transferable skills, so it doesn't have to necessarily be marine-based training. But if you want to do engineering, go out and do engineering, and engineering is a transferable skill. Same with administration, same with catering and everything like that. There isn't much catering in the lifeboat. Well, I can make a good pot noodle on the boat, but that's about it. Look for transferable skills, and if you can go with them, get a qualification in a transferable skill, that'll always help you.
That's it, thank you. Sean has asked, what is the most random rescue you have done?
The most random rescue? So every year, it's something that the lifeboat joke about. If you've seen the TV program Saving Lives at Sea, it's a fantastic insight to any of our rescues. If you haven't seen it, it's available on iPlayer and all other sort of online sort of sections. You can see it, or YouTube. And it's something called silly season. Silly season starts when there's an inflatable animal that's been saved, with or without people. So our silly season started, I think it was the start of June, when we went out and got an inflatable unicorn, which someone believed to be a light aircraft, but actually it was just blown off the beach and people hadn't told anyone. So we went all the way to sea for about 20 miles to get an inflatable unicorn. That was a bit surreal. But that's sort of silly season. The other one was a number 3 balloon at dusk. So it's just getting dark and someone had seen someone in the water. Now, if you image a number 3 in your head and then turn it on its side, it could look like a head with 2 arms sticking out. So see the number 3? It's sticking out now. That's what we got launched to, and we spent 5 hours looking for this balloon, which was believed to be a person in the water. And I'll never forget the radio call to the Coast Guard. Can you describe the balloon? It's a balloon, a number 3, and it's blue. And that's all I could say. And we had to take it to the person's house so that they could go to sleep knowing that we had found what they had seen. But to put people's mind at ease, that's what we have to do. So that's the most weirdest shout I've ever been on. Dressed in yellows, walking up a high-rise flats. It's not fun.
Bless. Oh, thank you so much. Thomas has asked, can you get any of these qualifications needed through the Sea Cadets?
So directly into the RNLI, probably not. And we are moving the engineering program forward to get recognisable outer skills and qualifications. But it's because of the Sea Cadets Marine Engineering program I got my apprenticeship. It wasn't a qualification that was recognised, but it was a qualification that got me recognised, if that makes sense. It definitely helped me having the engineering qualification in the Sea Cadets to get my apprenticeship that got me my H&C in engineering.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And it seems to have been a stop to the questions. So if there isn't any more questions, thank you so much, Michael, for joining us for this webinar. Loved to hear about the RNLI. It's an endlessly fascinating thing, and it is an amazing thing that you all do. So thank you for being there to save all of us if we need it. And thank you to all our participants for joining tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your fantastic questions.